Hi, welcome back to my Halloween series of reviews. In my previous video, I talked about phantoms, and the video games that I felt fell in the same kind of aesthetic category, one of which was Silent Hill. So that kind of inspired me to go back and rewatch the 2006 film adaptation of the video game. I don't just consider this a great Halloween pick, this is just a really good video game movie. And I just wanted to clarify, I consider it a very good video game-based movie. I don't necessarily consider it a good adaptation. But hopefully by the end of this video you'll be able to understand why I think it's a good video game movie. Maybe even one of the best. And if you're new here, hi, I'm Keenan. This is my channel, Lemony Fresh. I mainly do film reviews, but from time to time I dabble into TV and sometimes video games. If you like this video, please consider giving it a like, and think about subscribing because I have more videos like this coming out. And on October 31st at 6 p.m, I'll be doing a live stream of my favorite video game, well, one of my favorite video games, Resident Evil 2. So come join me and stop in and say hi. Alright, let's get started. Silent Hill is a 2006 psychological horror movie based on a video game of the same name. It was directed by Christopher Gans, I hope I'm saying that right, who's best known for his work with The Brotherhood of the Wolf and the live adaptation of Beauty and the Beast. Weird resume, but Gans actually wanted to make this movie for a while, pitching it to his producer during the filming of Brotherhood of the Wolf. So at least the people who were involved actually had an interest in remaking the game. Right off the bat here, I think a lot of people who have seen the movie already lump it into the same category as every other bad video game adaptation. But it really isn't. Not only does the film stand alone as a solid horror movie entry, it's also a decent adaptation of the game. Silent Hill tells the story of two parents having issues with their adoptive daughter Sharon. She wakes up in the middle of the night and sleepwalks out of their home, and when they find her, all she keeps saying is Silent Hill. While the father, played by Sean Bean, tries to remain level-headed and seek professional help, the mother, played by Radha Mitchell, discovers that Silent Hill is an actual place, and feels like taking the daughter there might reveal some answers. On the way, she draws the attention of a motorcycle cop played by Laurie Holden. For some reason, she flees, and she crashes her car after seeing a vision of a little girl. The mother, Rose, wakes up in the town alone, which has been covered in a mysterious fog. She meets up with a motorcycle cop, Sybil, and the two search the town for Sharon. But while exploring the town, they run into some nightmarish creatures, which I think look awesome, and it's such a good adaptation from the game. So regarding the enemies from the game, one particular stands out that a lot of fans were kind of pissy about: Pyramid Head. Pyramid Head is a towering monster that drags around a massive butcher blade and wears an immense heavy metal pyramid on its head. Pyramid Head is more or less the face of the Silent Hill franchise. Of course they were going to have to include him in any movie adaptation that they were going to do. And he looks really fucking cool in the movie too. I think that his portrayal is perfect, but a lot of fans are upset because his inclusion doesn't make sense within the context of the game. What a lot of fans love about the series is that it's heavily psychological, and most of the creatures in the game that you face off against are kind of manifestations of the subconscious and psyches of the characters who find themselves trapped in the town. For example, in the video game, there's a mini-boss called Table Daddy. And Table Daddy constantly chases after this one person who winds up in the town, who's implied to have been sexually abused by her father. So the creature is directly a manifestation of her past trauma. Even the level where you fight Table Daddy itself is metaphorically in tune with his trauma. It's so creepy, but that's what people love about it. There's so much to interpret here, and many people have different interpretations of what the characters go through. There's a lot of ambiguity as well. And likewise, Pyramid Head is a manifestation of the guilt felt by the character James in Silent Hill 2, who is not featured in the movie. In fact, the plot of Silent Hill is more closely tied to the first Silent Hill game, with several influences from Silent Hill 2 and Silent Hill 3. Some fans were really pissy that Pyramid Head would be included in the movie, but what are you gonna do? This is the first movie adaptation of a very popular video game series. You're gonna start with your best stuff. Why would you not have Pyramid Head? And personally, I just love seeing him in the movie just tearing shit up. That's exactly what he does in the video game anyway. And this is where I think a lot of the overblown hate for the movie comes from. There are a lot of fans who only want a one-to-one adaptation of the video game. It's not easy to adapt a video game to a movie because there's so much in a video game. How do you compact all of that into a movie that's maybe 2 hours or under? It's impossible. Deviation is fine. And sometimes, honestly, it's actually better, as long as it's not a bastardization of what the source material is. And I don't think the Silent Hill movie is a bastardization of the Silent Hill video game. So the inclusion of characters like Pyramid Head or the bobblehead nurses that don't make sense in this storyline don't really bother me. Especially because the movie also offers alternative backstories and reasons why these characters would be in there. So it does adapt the character from the game for the movie. That's fine. So as Rose and Sybil search the town, they find out that it goes through a weird cycle between the daytime fogginess, where they kind of get attacked by monsters who trickle in, to this weird nightmare world at nighttime where everything goes black and the whole world turns grungy and rotten and rusted. And the nightmare world is where the monsters really come out to play. They're luckily saved by some sort of religious group that still lives in the ghost town, protected by the holy ground of the chapel. Presumably these people are just kind of stuck in time here, because according to the backstory of the town that you find out, the town burned down sometime in the 70s or 80s, and it's the 2000s now, but these people are pretty much the same age. While Rose is searching for Sharon, her husband, played by Sean Bean, is trying to find both of them. And he does some research on his own about Sharon's birth records and the history of the town itself. He's aided by a detective who's played by that guy who plays the coach in Goon, and he eventually reveals to him some dark history of the town. I like how they went in this direction with the movie. They have this mystery plot that's going on, at the same time that you have this rescue the little girl plot. And the mystery plot adds all the exposition you want, while the save the little girl plot can just remain for the action and the thrills and the scares. I think that every paranormal movie that has a real deep, rich lore like this should always be done as a mystery film, because it allows for just so much, like, interpretation and theories. It's so fun. Alright, I won't get too spoilery here, but I'm just gonna go through and list all the changes from the video game to the movie that are significant, in case that you know one or not the other, or you're just kind of interested. The husband and wife, Rose and Christopher, aren't in the video games. This could have gone RE, since Rose is more or less the main character of the movie. But I actually like when adaptations introduce a new character who you follow as the main character, because it's an easy way to introduce the actual important characters that are adapted from the source material. And Rose is such a great character as well. Radha Mitchell pretty much plays her like Ripley from Aliens. If it means saving her daughter, she doesn't give a shit. She'll go through anything. Like I said, Pyramid Head is in the movie. So are the Bubblehead nurses from Silent Hill 2. There are a couple of random generic Silent Hill creatures thrown in there, as well as a Grey Children. Actually, the entire Grey Children scene is directly lifted from Silent Hill 1, and is a great way to kick off the conclusion to Act 1, by paying homage to the game. I'd even say that the backstory of the Grey Children, while not explicitly stated in the movie, is way creepier than in the game. They also bring back the Red Nurse, Lisa, from Silent Hill 1, though she's kinda just a cameo as a non-speaking adapted character who just wears her cardigan. The biggest character change from the game to the movie is Dahlia. In the movie, she becomes more of a sympathetic character trying to get her daughter back. Her character from Silent Hill 1 basically becomes a new character, Christabella, who's the leader of the Brethren. And then there's Sybil, who's pretty much exactly the same. Laurie Holden does a great job with her. Actually, she's a really good casting for this role. And I actually prefer her portrayal over the video game version because she makes her such a badass. One character that's entirely new for the movie is Colin the janitor, this thing. This new monster was such a unique and gnarly design that one of the producers of the game, Akira Yanaoka, approved so much of the character design that he requested Gans to use him for further releases. But let's just cut down to it. What's the good and what's the bad? I said earlier that this isn't the best adaptation because it doesn't really translate the heavy character psychological themes from the video game into the format of a movie. Does this make it bad? No, I don't think so. What does make it kind of bad is that the plot is a little overcomplicated for just a popcorn horror flick. It's not the easiest plot to follow, and there's a lot of questions that arise from just kind of going through it. But I think that also kind of falls in line with the theme of the games, because Silent Hill is more of a place that you experience rather than a story that you complete. Silent Hill is meant to be a place where the characters who wind up there literally come face to face with their inner demons. The easiest thing I can kind of compare it to is just a state of limbo, where you're constantly reminded that you might be going to hell. However, the movie does very successfully translate the visual and aesthetic sense of this world that Silent Hill is supposed to be. But for the writing, it kind of falls short. And there's a lot more that could have been added, or at least written in a little more condensed way to kind of cover all your bases. And honestly, I don't really blame the writers. I just don't think that Silent Hill can be compacted into an hour-and-a-half long movie. My dream would be for Silent Hill to be adapted into a high-budget episodic television show on cable television or Netflix or something. And I mean, with things like The Witcher out, that doesn't seem too far off, really. So what's the good? Well, just look at it. The cinematography is hauntingly beautiful. The set design, the sound design, the art direction, the creature design, everything is a perfect visual and, I guess, sensory adaptation of the video game. But throw away any idea that this was an adaptation. Throw away any concept you had of Silent Hill going into the movie, and I think you'll see that it's a solid horror movie, and one of the best horror movies of the 2000s, honestly. If you have an interest in horror, I guarantee there's something in this movie that you will love. But if you have seen this movie, please let me know in the comments. I'm always good to discuss this. I want to know what other people think of this, because I feel like the reviews are way lower than what they should be for a movie that's pretty good, really. Do you think it's underrated? Do you think it's rated exactly where it should be? Let me know. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time with another Halloween-related review. And don't forget about my live stream October 31st at 6 p.m. The Resident Evil 2 remake. I'll see you next time.
Look at me. I'm burning.